Early on within my restoration career, I learned to work on the business, not in the business, and I completely replaced myself from actually having to do the restoration work and going to the job sites and pleasing customers to working through certain people who were actually doing those things. And we created this little leadership team and management team, and they were super great in kind of delegating that. But the problem was, I noticed that my get shit done mentality that I was using in the field started applying to the relationship with these leaders, and it became very, very unhealthy. I had, leaders call me with random problems, and I just felt like I was just answering the phone all the time, trying to put out fires, and I was delegating tasks versus actually creating this leadership muscle. And then I read a bunch of books, including Gino Wickman's EOS, and what you'll actually realize a lot of this video has to do with that. And I realized that there's a specific framework that you need to establish to run an effective management meeting with team members that then allows you to only have to focus an hour to 2 hours a week on that leadership team, and then you free up all that other time to actually work on the business. And in this video today, I kind of want to share with you that framework. I actually use it with all my coaching clients, all my consulting clients, and I want to share it with you. And yes, there are certain elements taken from business management systems like EOS, so full disclosure, there's some of that in here. Let's take a dive. So the first thing I do every single time when I meet with a new client or I meet with people in general is I try to go to the good news. And actually, side story at Google, when the founders of Google started Google, they started this thing called the mandatory trip report. And they would start their meetings with employees and they would make employees give a mandatory trip report about their last fun trip. And that was just kind of a way to kind of set the tone for the meeting and start with something good. I like starting with a segue, kind of like what EOS does, and start with good news and just have 5 minutes to just be humans, not be leaders, and just talk about, hey, what are some good things that are happening? Because it's very easy to get pessimistic. So on my coaching calls, I'll ask people for wins. On our internal staff meetings, we'll talk about personal and professional good stuff. I love to hear about the kid that went to preschool, or the daughter that graduated, or the weight loss journey of a specific employee. And I love to humanize things. And then I also love to hear some of the professional wins. The first thing you should always start with is, hey, what's the good news? The second thing, if you were to follow something like EOS, they talk about scorecard and the concept of looking over numbers and just kind of having some sort of commentary. I like spinning it up a little bit and looking at performance versus plan. And what I mean by that is I train every single person within the restoration industry to actually put together a plan for their next year, and that's split up into month-by-month metrics, all the important things. So they call their shot on how much revenue, how much cost, how many employees, all those important things, they call their shot. And during the review part of the scorecard, we're actually reviewing how are we performing against the plan. So we said, hey, we were gonna be on track for 4 million this year. Are we on track for 4? Are we on track for 3? Are we on track for 2? Where are we at? Very limited commentary. We just go through the spreadsheets or the data viz, or in our case, we'll go through Albi and look through those things. Very common exercise I do with coaching clients, for example, is let's say we are halfway through the month and we're looking at a $150,000 sales goal for the specific month. If I go in and run a profit and loss, I'll see there's only maybe $20,000 and we're halfway through the month and we're freaking out. But then I go into the pipeline report, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and I look at what are some jobs that are in the pipeline and where are they at within the stage, and I can kind of see, okay, we have enough. We'll be able to bill and make up the difference from the 20 to the 160. So that leads me into my third thing, pipeline analysis. We always want to see what's in the pipeline. What do we have? If we have an empty pipeline, we have a sales and marketing problem, so we should go out and find more jobs. If we have a full pipeline and we can't consume it, we need to deploy more resources to consume that specific pipeline. So the third thing I always look at is the pipeline. The easiest way to do it in Albi is actually to pull up an Albi status dashboard, and the whole company, the whole leadership team just looks at that specific pipeline, and you can clearly tell if there's a sales and marketing problem or an operations problem. At this point, you're just looking over data, you're not analyzing things, you're not really commenting. There's a specific section below where we talk about that. The fourth thing that we review is our 90-day rocks. So again, another EOS term, but any sort of management system kind of talks about 90-day goals. The theory is the human body can't focus on something for more than 90 days, super focused. So you set these 3-month quarterly goals, and then you review them every single week at these meetings. So these goals could be stuff like staffing, they could be things like a sales goal, they could be things like a new system in place. And we go around the table and we basically check, hey, did you do these rocks? Mike will sit at the table and maybe, he's got these 4 rocks. We'll just basically, no commentary, just say, are you on track, off track, or is this complete? And then the 5th thing that we do, and most of that, all of these 4 things that I talked about, we reserve about 5 minutes for each of them. So we're 20 minutes into the meeting. The next hour gets spent on identifying, discussing, and solving issues. So there's probably a bunch of commentary and issues that would have come up out of the analysis of those 4 previous stages. We put those on a big list, and then we use that time to discuss and solve issues. And we try to keep ourselves focused on every single issue individually, solve that issue, and we basically prioritize everything. So for example, if we were off on our sales plan and that was alarming, one of the issues that we would discuss during that meeting is how can we get more leads? And all of these issues we keep on a spreadsheet, and anytime something comes up during the week, it gets put on that specific spreadsheet. So then we basically avoid having the phone call of, hey, sales are slow in the middle of the week and having this side conversation. We bring that all to that meeting. If you're able to structure these things and build that muscle, you're gonna see a lot of lift happening within your leadership team. And you're actually gonna be able to buy back a lot of your personal time so that way you can work on the business, not in the business. If you find this content valuable and you wanna hear more, please click the subscribe button below and make sure you turn that notification bell on, because every single week we come out with new value specifically designed for restorers. And the favorite part is it's all free. Talk to you guys soon.